So welcome everybody. I'm going to try to get this done in 90 minutes. I'm going to try to have you out of the door in 90 minutes. Those of you who are not new, you know that's a laughable thing, but I really am going to try. I'm going to try my best. Tonight, I really want everybody who's here to participate if they really can. And participating would mean you can have some tools. Here are the tools that I want you to have for this class. I want you to have either an actual pendulum, or a rope with a rock or a string with something that is weighted, or you can even use a tea bag. It doesn't matter because as we get into this, I'll show you how a pendulum is really just a way to measure energy. So if you could have that. Also, if you have time, like maybe during one of our breaks, because we're going to, well, I'll get to that in a second. If you could grab some little sugar, you got some sugar packs, grab some of that. Got some candy around, especially those really bad ones. And I know I'm not the only person around here that has them. Grab one of those pieces. Don't eat it. Just grab it. All right. Set it on the desk next to you. You have some vitamins around, some supplements. Grab that and pen and paper. Not necessarily because I need you to take notes, which you're welcome to do. This is recorded. Everybody here will have access to the replay of it. But I'm going to want you to do something with the pen and paper. So have that. All right. So pendulums. What is a pendulum? A pendulum is a device that we use in order to measure energy, right? So you have an energy field that's around you at all times. You have one very similar to the planet, has an energy field that's around it. And the health of that energy field or biofield is the protection of the planet, but it's a whole communication device. The sun communicates with it, solar flares communicate with it. These is the reasons that planets don't bump into one another. This is how heat is generated on our planet. For those of you who were at Day of Discovery last year, I did a talk, and I was saying that the sun doesn't send heat through space because space is cold. Sun's 93 million miles out. It doesn't send heat, it sends information. It sends frequency. It sends energy. And when that frequency hits the biofield of the planet, depending on how it hits it and where it hits it, the communication between the energy sent from the sun and the biofield of the earth determines what happens to that frequency. Now, the larger spectrum of that frequency is light. So if it hits it head on, it illuminates that part of the globe that it is hitting. And so that's where daytime comes from. Daytime and nighttime, these are illusions. Nighttime isn't real. Nighttime is just the absence of light. And the reaction to not having light is darkness. And when you have that communication that hits, on certain areas of the planet, it hits, and the biofield of the planet is coded in a way that it doesn't translate that frequency to heat. The North Pole, the South Pole, Russia during many of the months of the year, Alaska during many of the months of the year. They still get light, they still get the frequency, but the biofield of that particular part of the earth is taking that information and doing something differently with it. So you don't feel it as heat, even though it's just as much light as it is anyplace else on the planet. But the information is different, and it's cold, even though you have light. Now, you might go to different parts of Africa or South America. They get light too. It's the same light. It's the same energy. It's the same frequency. But that particular part of the planet is coded in the biofield to take that same frequency and do something different with it. It gives light, but it also gives heat. And then when that heat works with the other elements, It allows that area to grow the vegetation that's natural and native to it. But that could not happen on Antarctica, even though they're getting the same light from the same sun, which is the same source. It all has to do with the biofield and what the biofield does with the information. And this is the biofield of the planet that we all live on, right? Just like the planet has that biofield, we too have a biofield that is around us. Now, the biofield of the planet is measurable. They have equipment that allow you to see it. One of the main ways to see the biofield of the planet is if a foreign object is flying through space. When it gets near the planet, if it's going to collide with the planet, they call it like a collision course. Usually these objects are much smaller than the planet. Otherwise, the stronger energy would win. But as that comet or whatever it is flies into the Earth's atmosphere, it goes through that biofield and that protection burns it up. And that burning process is the reason that the planet doesn't get knocked out of its orbit when these objects come through. It's protection. It's a biofield. But when we manipulate that biofield, things start happening. Some people will say global warming. Other people will say there's a higher rate of skin cancer because there are things that are happening down here that have been happening for so long that it starts to disrupt the biofield of the planet. And the thought process is there are other planets that don't have their biofield intact anymore, and that's the reason why life might look a lot different there. But that's going way out there. The biofield exists. And just like our planet has a biofield, each one of us individually has a biofield. And this is the reason you're able to see people and meet people and immediately assess their energy if you have any intuition about you at all. You can assess the energy of the people that you meet because the biofield of the person, if you're wise, shows you a lot about them. But even if you're not tuned in, you can look at someone genuinely and tell whether or not they're genuinely happy. If someone is sad, then the frequency changes and you can see it on their voice. To an untrained eye, if someone is bending over laughing hysterically and bending over crying hysterically, to an untrained eye and from a distance, they look the same. But the frequency or the biofield around the person, it emits something different. So that when you get closer and you look at it, you're able to see, oh, well, that's what that is. So either you're hugging them or you're patting them on the back, just depending on what their frequency is. But from a distance, these things kind of look the same. It's because the biofield is being manipulated by internal sources, sometimes external, but usually it's a reaction. So it's happening internally. What does that got to do with a pendulum? So a pendulum is used as a way to access energy, your biofield, the biofield of those around you, the biofield of the things that you eat, the biofield of the supplements that you're taking, the biofield of the energy that you emit, the biofield of the energy that you can instantly manipulate. And we're going to get to that today. So the first thing is to assess your own biofield utilizing an instrument like the pendulum. And then after you assess that, then look for manipulation or changes in your energy field via the pendulum. The pendulum isn't changing your energy. The pendulum isn't changing your biofield. The pendulum is being used to measure your energy. The pendulum is being used to measure your biofield. And that concept is why this thing is not woo-woo, it's not spooky, it's not scary. We're just measuring energy. If you've ever either been to or seen a lie detector, and you have someone and they're all strapped in and they have these gadgets on them, and the person is asking them a question. Usually they're asking them a series of questions because they're trying to see how their field resonates electrically, because this is all electricity. You're trying to find out how the field resonates normally. Are you 55 years old? Is your name Darryl Roberts? Is that hair on your head gray as it comes out of your scalp? Because I see it's mostly black now, right? So ask me those questions. And if I'm telling the truth all the way along, then I'm able to look and say, okay, this is the way the biofield resonates when he's telling the truth. Another way to look at that is, this is how his biofield resonates electrically when it is in harmony with itself. Now ask me a different question. Now I'm going to lie. Is that hair that's coming out of your head black as it comes out of your scalp? And I say, absolutely it is. Well, my biofield's going to go nuts because that's not in harmony with truth, right? And so now we have a different measuring rod. Now we get to see how the biofield resonates when it's out of balance, when it's out of harmony. And that's what a pendulum is. That's what a pendulum does. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's not bringing unsacred energy into your life. It's being used as a way to muscle test, in essence. And that's what muscle testing is. Checking frequency, resonating frequency, and determining when the frequency is out of balance, and then measuring the change. All right, so